Welcome to Talk Theory. It's your host, Kiara Barnes, where I talk all things life, what makes us human, and what makes us superhuman. Sit back, relax, and join me for a chat. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talk Theory. I am Kiara Barnes, your host. Thank you so much for coming back to a new app. I hope everyone is doing as well as they can. Luna says hello. I am jumping right in today. We're going to talk about growing older, aging. And for the first time, this has really just been on my mind more than ever before. And I feel like I'm noticing my age when it comes to, I think like social media really started triggering it. But, like your favorite music or your favorite movies or shows or just watching the trends change. And it's just such an odd feeling because I feel like I'm still this young teenage girl, but as time goes on, I'm definitely within the stage of adulthood, and it's been a journey for sure. And, obviously time is continuous, but you just don't really think about it until it's in your face. For example, okay, I have a few, but I was even like talking to my friend about this the other day. I'm like, isn't it so odd that like the middle part came in and that became like a thing of looking more youthful, but why was the side part as a millennial like the young cool thing, right? And it's like we would have never even thought to ever do a middle part, and now the middle part is like the thing. And if you do a side part, you just look old. And I was just talking to them and I was like, when did that start? Like when did it all of a sudden become this thing to you look younger, you look older depending on your hair, and then what, like, because the trends always change and come back in, like, I don't know, a few years, are we going to go back to the side part and I'll be like, gosh, I can't believe we were doing the middle part, that was something, and blah blah blah. I don't know. It's so silly, but it's so interesting at the same time. And another thing that was kind of going viral for a little bit was Dylan and Cole Sprouse about one of their old episodes of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on Disney Channel. And I totally grew up on this, okay? And so specifically what happened with this viral moment is this episode, their characters are like trying to get a reservation at a restaurant, and the waiter's like just being, ridiculous, and is saying that they can't get a reservation at a restaurant, at this restaurant until November 16th, 2023. Something like that, around that date. And when the episode was debuted, guys, that was 15 years previous. Now, even saying that is wild. I'm like, 15 years has passed, okay? So anyhow, I guess all of these people were sending them DMs and comments like, oh my gosh, your table's ready, LOL. And them just being like, oh, God. Okay, it's really been 15 years. That's crazy. And I don't know. I think when we're younger, we're not as conscious of time, which makes sense. We're kids. We're not too concerned for the most part with all that. We're like really concerned about, I don't know, going outside and playing, if we're going to be able to get another cheese stick out of the drawer of the refrigerator. We're not really getting philosophical at a very young age. We're We're not there. And in fact, a lot of the time we're wishing and hoping time will just go faster so that we can become older and get more freedoms, like driving and going out past a particular time of night. But then we finally reach that point of adulthood where, responsibilities are sinking in, and it's like, wow, I wish time could maybe slow down a little bit. And the fact that, guys, like, I'm an aunt now. What? I mean, I feel like I'm still the younger niece of someone, and now I have a niece and nephew, and they call me Auntie Kiki. Like, oh my gosh. It's the most wild thing. It's absolutely so cute. And I burst into tears when they do anything, say anything, do anything. But mostly I feel like trying to be present more so than ever is just, it's really important. And specifically with like my parents and brothers and family. And it's funny thing when you're younger, you don't want anything to do with your family and you just want to do your own thing. But now that they're the most consistent people in my life, and it's like all of that has changed. What's even funnier is my parents used to tell me that constantly when I was younger, that my family would be the ones always here and friends come and go. And because this was like when I was in my era where I was like, I hate you guys. Like, you guys suck. Like, my best friends are forever. Everyone goes through it. But they were right, And they were right. And don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of friends throughout my life that I keep in touch with. But for the most part, my strongest connection is with my family. And I will forever be grateful for that because I know that's not the case for everyone. Not everyone is close with their family and has a lot of different, reasons why. But I definitely can say I'm super, super grateful that I can call on mine whenever and know that they're going to be there and support me. We've had our ups and downs as any family, but all in all, I know that they're there. Now, trying to actually get a hold of them, I mean, specifically my brothers, okay? Older brother, okay, I have two older brothers, right? The oldest brother, the eldest, he's got kids, so, but he will, for the most part, at least get back with me. Second oldest brother, oh, I mean, it's a toss up, really, Yeah, you don't know if you're gonna hear back from him today or 2 months from today. And the youngest brother, I mean, you can forget it altogether, or you'll just like get a reply that's all I have to say is check out my TikTok. Okay, I did a little funny experiment, and that's exactly their personalities. Love you guys. Okay, anyway, back to what we're chatting about. Here's the thing with aging, all right? It's a universal experience. Everyone will experience that feeling of, whoa, am I getting older? But perspectives on it vary widely. In some cultures, aging is something that is actually quite sacred, and it's a sign of a full life lived, and it's something to be admired, appreciated, and just highly respected. Specifically, seeing someone age, it's a sacred kind of thing. Now, I can only really speak of my experience of being in the US because that's where I'm from. But here we are obsessed with aging, okay, and looking younger and finding ways to dial the clock back, whether it be through cosmetic adjustments, makeup, hairstyle, wardrobe. There is always something being marketed to us that we can be our most youthful self. And look, I'm going to be honest. I'm definitely a product of it, okay? I've definitely given in. And I've bought all the skincare stuff, trying all the hair products, all the makeup. to feel like I look as refreshed as possible. And it's so silly, but I just think social media, celebrities, influencers, it's hard not to get sucked into that culture of beauty and beauty standards. And if I'm being real, okay, I was freaking out a few months ago because I found two gray hairs. I mean, really, but I was like, where's the tweezers? We're plucking this out. Meow. And you know what? Finally, I just got to a point where I said, oh, well, so what? It's really not that big of a deal and it's not that scary. In fact, it's pretty normal. And anyone else that's probably older than me and has gray hair is probably like, girl, please. But it's my first time experiencing it, and it's it's something, I don't want to say jarring, that's a little extreme. It was jarring. Um but it is something like, whoa, okay, like when you start noticing things physically where it's like, oh, used to never have gray hair, okay? Um it's something to get used to and notice. But it's normal, and I essentially have to start speaking words of affirmations to myself just to talk myself down from having a full panic attack about something that is just part of the process of living. And I will say, I'm all for taking care of the body and taking care for the sake of taking care. I think there's the reality of your body changing as you grow older and getting hormonal changes. Specifically, okay, for me, I've seen it within my skin. I mean, I've always had somewhat sensitive skin, but I'm like, dang, as of late, certain products and things I used to be able to use before just don't work any longer for me. And I used to change up I had to change up my routine because I'm just experiencing different hormonal reactions. And finally, I've figured out what's working for me, but even having to be more aware of the phases in my menstrual cycle, because depending on where I am and how my hormones are reacting with my body, I'm experiencing that via my face and realizing certain foods. I had a gluten sensitivity, definitely allergy for the longest time. Um, because guys, it was like not like, oh, I kind of get bloated. Like it was so bad. It felt like if you've ever done like some kind of ab workout crunches and you get to that sore feeling, but basically being in that sore like flexed position for hours. I'm not even kidding. Like I'd be crying, screaming, nauseous. It was so painful. And it took me a while, but I was able to finally heal that. And it went from, not being able to eat it at all without having the most intense stomach pain to being able to have it have like gluten and here and there kind of thing. And not really having any severe reaction. And, a month or two ago, I started eating bread a little more frequent than usual. And what do you know? Not just my face having a really intense reaction, but oddly enough, my scalp, which was really odd. Like my scalp was shedding like crazy. Like I would wash my hair and within 2 days, seeing like the most crazy, this is probably TMI and gross, but crazy amount, and maybe I'm helping someone telling you guys this, but crazy amount of flakes. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? My scalp has never been this way. Well, I come to find out that like yeast specifically causes an overproduction of oil. And what people think, this is a side tangent, but because I had to do a lot of research, but what people think dandruff and dry scalp is, there's two different things. Dry scalp, you'll see like these tiny white specks, And that's from like an under amount of oil secretion happening. Now, when you see dandruff, which is usually in bigger patches and can sometimes even, depending on the coloring, but it might be like a light yellow or something like that, that's from an overproduction. So dandruff is an overproduction of oil, which is triggered by yeast. It's also a bacterial situation happening. So I put two and two together, okay, and because I'm consuming more oil and this yeast is triggering more oil, my face is breaking out because, like, okay, we got way too much going on, so it's trying to purge, and the same is happening for my scalp. Okay, so I'm not even kidding you guys. Within 2 weeks of just not eating bread and just dialing it back on that, scalp is completely healthy and fine. Skin is extremely clear. And it's wild because a couple of years ago, this wouldn't really even be a problem. But as I grow older, I see that I'm growing more sensitive, prone to things, which is why I think it's important in general to be mindful and aware of changes you see and feel in your body. And I think pairing a healthy lifestyle, not even just physically, but mentally, is extremely important. You know, being able to release tension from the body as you age is extremely important. You know, keeps from illnesses and pain manifesting in a physical way, but also helps keep your mind clear and at the ready to make decisions and be strong. And also being aware that things you did for your body and mind to stay in shape when you were like, I don't know, 18 will not work for your body at 40 or 50 or whatever age. You're gonna be experiencing different reactions to things, aka the freaking scalp debacle. So being patient and trying not to compare to the past because it truly cannot help or solve anything. And also, with age comes wisdom. Ultimately, I would not go back to middle school, high school age when I was, even when I was starting college, because ultimately, y'all, that was hard. You're just growing into your body, hormones are changing, you're figuring out who you are, you're taking on the advice of your peers and family and mentors. And all I gotta say is I know I'm happier for where I'm at now because I just have such a better grasp and understanding on who I am and who I'm working to be. And I'm a lot more confident and have the ability to do things that I just simply wasn't able to do beforehand. Also, when we're younger, there's so much like I said before, we're just trying to figure out about ourselves and our futures. And we are making mistakes and having our firsts and really experiencing life for all that it has to offer, the ups and downs. Not to say that I have it all figured out now, because I don't. And I don't think that at any age anyone really does. I think you just get better at asking questions and problem solving and getting to know yourself more than anything else. And at all ages, we're at different stages of life. 10 years ago, I was nowhere near thinking of the things I'm thinking of now, specifically thinking about having kids and a family now and having a home. All of that feels good to think about, you know, but also has its own stresses of making sure, like, I'm thinking about, like, are my eggs healthy? And, am I going to be able to have a baby while maintaining a career at the same time, especially in the entertainment industry, which is a whole rabbit hole, which I'll spare you on. But all to say that we're always growing into a newer version of us that has to be more developed and more aware and more conscious of what's happening. But I think that's one thing time gives us that is priceless, and in that sector of just having wisdom and insight that we get to keep with us a longer journey. And, I feel like I've also gained such a deeper perspective and gratitude for my mother and father, and just realizing that they also don't have it all figured out. I saw something on TikTok that said, it was something like, This is your mother's first time here too. Be nice. And one, I was like, dang, okay, my bad, my bad. But because when it's your parents, you're like, it's just mom and dad. But yeah, they're just aware, as I am, of knowing exactly what's going on. They're going day by day, just like me. Now, because of our difference in age, they have experienced more and know more in certain arenas, but I also know more in certain arenas because of my generation and what's going on in the timeline that I was born into. So you can definitely learn, a lot from one another, that's for sure. But it's also kind of interesting getting to an age where I'm more concerned about them than the other way around. And I know they probably find this so annoying, but like I find myself asking them, like, well, what did you eat for lunch? What did you eat for dinner? Did you eat at all? Did you drink enough water? And because me and my siblings, we're out of the house, so they just do whatever they want to do for the most part. Like one time I asked, what are you guys doing for dinner? And they were both like, yeah, we're just going to have cereal. I'm like, what? Cereal? Okay, no, folks, you need to be having full, nutritious meals. I can't even remember the last time I sat down for dinner and poured myself cereal. Come on. And so then me and my brothers, ended up setting them up for this meal prep service. And I'm like, really? Y'all are eating like college kids. To be fair, they've gotten better about finding new recipes and cooking and making an activity. But for a minute there, it was getting kind of scary. But, life's a series of transitions and it's all really a circle of life. It's just an odd feeling when you become more aware of the circle of that of life, And I'll say I do think having a more positive outlook on aging can greatly impact the way that we move and feel and think. And I think there's a lot of power in our words and thoughts, and those words and thoughts become beliefs, and beliefs ultimately impact how we feel, and then that manifests into our bodies on a physical level. I've seen a lot of people age beautifully and gracefully, specifically even my family, my mother, my father, my nana as well. They all look so much younger than they actually are, but they also don't really subscribe to most folks their age, when it comes to how they should, quote unquote, be feeling. They just take care of themselves. And like I said earlier, being aware that as we age, we may need more, I don't know, nutrients or vitamins, or need to do certain things in particular sectors of our bodies or lives, and just making sure to do that. Perhaps making sure to keep themselves more mobile and making sure to getting, I don't know, like a walk in so that blood circulation is being stimulated, which honestly, we all should be doing that. But all these things are being done because it just feels good, right? Rather than in some kind of fear of aging. And I think that's the way to look at things. I think rather moving in, instead of moving in fear, but just moving in the direction of love and grace for yourself when it comes to aging doesn't have to be the scary thing that happens to us. It's expected and it's seen through a lens of appreciation. And I also just want to mention, as we come to a close, to let go of comparison and just focus on how we feel. We all know what's best for ourselves. We all know. There's no need to look at someone else and guide your own life off of what they look like and how they act and how they are. Look, folks, genetic factors, okay? There's financial factors. There's so many different variables and also different things going on, So let's try not to compare too much, not even with other people, but with ourselves. Trying to look exactly how you looked when you were 15 to now, guys, it's not possible. And it's okay to look like an adult. You're an adult. And honestly, I get this way too. So really I'm saying it out loud for myself too. My body is maturing constantly and it's healthy, and And I'm meant to look different. That's okay. It's not a bad thing to not look exactly how you did a few years ago. I was telling a friend this the other day. We were talking about skincare. And the big thing right now is having glass like skin and that you essentially look porous. Okay. Like you don't have any pores, I should say. And here's the thing with that, right? Non-porous, I should say. All right? Yeah. And here's the thing, right? With the technological advances we have now, can you get pretty close to a really balanced and polished skin? Sure, sure, sure. But your skin will always look like skin. We naturally have pores because your skin is an organ. It needs to breathe. It needs to sweat. It needs to produce oil. It's part of its cleaning process. No one has no pores, okay? But when you get on TikTok and have a ring light and the automatic beauty filter on, yeah, you can look like you have the skin that's unattainable and has been like modified by some robot, you know? So just being aware that we are human. We are meant to look human and continue to change, and that's okay. That's okay to see. And sometimes when we try to fight that process, it can actually have a little bit of a backfiring effect. So just want to put that out there. Yeah, folks, I hope that you all enjoyed today's episode. It's been on my mind and I wanted to have a little chit chat. Okay, the theory of the week is: remember that growing older is not just about the passing of years. It's a tapestry of experiences, growth, and wisdom. Remember that growing older is not just about the passing of years. It's a tapestry of experiences, growth, and wisdom. Thank you for joining me on Talk Theory today. I hope y'all had a good rest of your week. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss episodes every Monday, and share this with a friend. It helps a lot. Shout out to all the current listeners and new listeners. Thank you for showing love and coming back for more. I really appreciate you guys, and I see the support and the comments and the DMs. I read them, so thank you. I really appreciate it. All right, I shall see you next week. Okay, love you. Bye.